Okay, so as some of you have joined the previous call that was on how to build your digital twin, I'm reminding you that there's four kind of layers, right? There's the brain, which is oftentimes it's the knowledge, the reasoning, your rag, the storage, where do you keep it, the face, how do you communicate with the AI agent, there's your digital twin, and then the hands, who is executing and how. And the reason I'm kind of reminding you about that is because we're going to get into a little bit the behind the scenes of how these LLMs work and why we choose specific tools for specific use cases based on several categories. It's safety, the cost, and basically business cases. Okay, who am I? The guys on the call, you already know me, so I'm gonna keep it short. I'm Ellie Owens. I've been a product manager for the last 13 years, and I've been building products, love building products. It's my passion. We're gonna cover the tools I use today, a PM work from past to today, how it changed, and use cases, like what use cases. There's about 3 use cases that we're gonna cover at least. We want to also cover what LLMs and SLMs to use. So large language models and small language models, what's the difference? In between, anytime, just raise your hand. I want to have it conversational so that I just give you what you need. Wherever, if I see that you guys already know it, maybe just give me some sort of a sign, I don't know, like this or whatever Zoom has, so that I know to speed it up or move on. And then I'll give you a couple of next steps, and we'll have another official Q&A if I didn't answer a question during the call. And for those online, if you want to join our conversation and actually see the slides, you gotta join via my stories. There is a link there. Cool. I covered the digital twin that we covered in the past. And what are the most important tools that I use today? It is Olama. We'll talk about that and why. Claude, everybody uses it. Ironclaw, we'll also talk about that because that one is a rare use case. And that logo is the wrong logo, but it's a cool logo. Cursor and Product Board AI, which I really like, but there's almost also specific cases where you're going to use it. Chat PRD, also specific cases, and Gemini. Even this slide actually was created by Gemini, see? Okay, moving on. So what is the difference between PUM work yesterday and today? Yesterday, well, not even yesterday, a year-ish ago, everybody was kind of focusing on the features, like what is the next thing we're going to build, right? And everybody here on the call already knows that the bottleneck was always like, oh my God, we don't have enough resources. And the way we collect feedback and decide what to build and what not to build was manual. You talk to the customers, you gather the feedback, you have this latency performance, you kind of get all these points from the stakeholders, from customers, from data that you see, which is also fragmented. You try to keep it in one beautiful dashboard, but it didn't really happen most of the times, right? So you need to connect all these dots, figure out what's the best investment, spend a lot of time on calculations, and we don't do that much anymore. Well, at least a lot of these steps are skipped today. Today, what we do is we prototype as a team, not only a product designer, product manager, and even engineer. We quickly design, we are focusing as product managers on creating loops. And this is what I'm gonna focus on the most. So today, the AI paradigm shift is, I kind of covered that, but with cost barriers eliminated, building direct loops is no longer optional. It is a baseline requirement. And I think that's the major pain point when it comes to your interviews. If you interview and you talk about, how you're building or deciding what to build, you need to now restructure your answers to how you're building these loops and kind of architecture side, right? Because the AI is going to learn on its own if you set it up right, and you don't have to focus so much on just writing features. Writing features becomes the cheapest and easiest thing to do. The first example is, so Claude. What do? You open Claude, and first it collects the signals. It looks at the prompt that you wrote, it looks at the structure, and it looks like, okay, did it include context and examples? Then it goes to reasoning style, how are you asking questions, and do you give me, like me as a Claude, you as a human, are you giving me the steps to follow, or should I just go the way I, practice my best kind of optimal way that I've already done in the past with other users. Then satisfaction. Did user refine or accept? Okay, was it like the first time that it already worked out or not? And another thing that I want to point out that is that before, I think one of the bottlenecks was when it comes to metrics, you as a product manager or engineer, you're getting only a few points of, okay, where did the customer dropped, on which page was that person. And only with AI, we started being able to see how they were behaving on the page, why they dropped, what was their behavior, right? And so this is really, really helpful for this generation. Oops. And then outcome quality. Was the response useful? Now, intelligence loop. That's the intelligence loop in the Claude or any other LLM, right? So the model learns users with 3+ examples in prompt get better results. That's one thing that they learn. The second example is model learns that users asking follow-ups are in problem-solving mode. So your response or your Claude response is going to be more diving deep, and you can also notice, and I invite you to check it out, how the model itself might change, like the variation, like whether it's Opus or Fable or any other one, based on your question. And then model learns certain answer structures score higher on user satisfaction. So then it will reuse the same. As you're using the same, Claude window, it learns your behavior and will continue on using that. But it doesn't remember way too far along, right? On my Claude, if I just open the Claude chat, it remembers like what kind of business I do and everything else. But also it is connected to Claude Code, where I build a lot more things and there's a lot of more execution versus just research. Anyway, and adaptation. New users see example prompts suggestions. The power users see reasoning mode toggle faster. So AI today, your Claude today understands what kind of user you are based on your experience from the past, right? You have to log in. Since it knows your account, it can see how much activity you have. And so it will actually give you different types of answers and work either harder or less based on already categorizing you where you are as a user. Anyway, these are really cool examples for you to understand how Claude thinks of you as a user. And the reason it's important is because you're going to be continuing to work with it, with Claude or other LLMs. They're the same, when it comes to the structure, mostly the same, the way they're thinking. So now let's talk about the shift from chatbots to autonomous agents. So when human defines a goal, then the AI orchestrator starts to work. And it basically goes to, as a Claude Code, it introduces an agentic loop architecture. So it formulates a multi-step execution plan based on a high-level goal. It executes actions using tools and observes outputs and self-corrects. Now, right in this corner below in the right side corner, these are the steps that the LLM will take, right? Step 1, query API and fetch data. Step 2, validate schema and parse error. And step 3, generate summary report. And then it's final output. But How many AI agents do you think it used to do it? That's an open question for you guys. Any,
Anyway,
well,
could be
how,
one, could be multiple of them. It depends of the how you break down the task.
mm-hmm, right? It depends on the complexity of the question, right?
Yeah,
Or,
that's true.
okay. Yeah, so exactly that. So if you ask fix a typo in config, it will be one agent working on it. If it's medium task, build API endpoints and tests, it's 2 to 3 agents. If it is a complex project, it's 4 to 6, and large architecture 5 to 6. It's when you're in Cloud Code or Cursor, they actually look the same. Cursor is better just because it also adds better visuals, but they work very, very similarly. And it will have its own conversation, right? That will work between those 5, 6 agents. When you're in Cloud chat, it's usually kind of simpler thing because there's less of execution happening too. All right, moving on. Seems like this is easy peasy for you guys, right? Okay,
Yeah.
then I should quickly move on. The data flywheel is not a feature, it's a system architecture. So we just talked about the user interface, which is this is where we humans are. Then you have the structured signal capturing, which is we put in the task or and content of like this is what we need. And then there's data enrichment and curation. So it optimizes and improves each time. It already understands our behaviors and it continues to learn on these behaviors. And this is system optimization. Okay, I'm gonna skip. The main point, the main subject is usage improves the product. So designing systems where every user action makes the product better for the next user. That is the whole mode. That is a huge difference between what happened before and what's happening today. Couple of use cases that we're going to cover, and applying to these use cases, I'm going to talk about these are the tools I'm using because. So the first one is AI assisted road mapping and prioritization. All right, so when it comes to road mapping and prioritization, if you're building it for yourself and it's a startup, you're probably going to use what you're using. If you're not concerned about security and things like that, you can use Claude or whatever the LLM you're using today. But if you're in a corporation, you're going to use something like Product Board AI. There's also AHA and a couple of other tools. If you're in a big corporation that already has their own AI, like Microsoft or Meta, then they will have their own tooling that is already built in. But if you're a healthcare company or something like that, you're going to be using what's already existing. One of the reasons why I use Product Board AI for practice, to be honest, is because it already has a lot of integrations, and as a SaaS tool, it has security involved. I cannot, if I'm working for a company or with a company as a consultant, imagine, and they have, and let's say this company is a healthcare company, health insurance company, and I need to build a roadmap. I need to do some research for it. I cannot and I should not be using, even if it's my personal Claude instance, or even if I pay for it, right? There's a security breach if you do that. So you need to be using something that already has a lot of bells and whistles in it. And so Product Board will also include the boards from other teams. And as a consultant, you usually don't have access to everything. And so that's one of the tools that is really cool tool to use when you have but just imagine the use case of you working with several companies, and each one of them needs security and only specific information that they will give you, but you need to build the product roadmap. So here's a screenshot of the way it looks. One of the cool things that I also like is that it already has skills, just like in Claude or other LLMs. So you don't have to go into Claude, use your tokens, and also have any security issue. Although Claude is one of the most secure ones in the first place, but as you work for a corporation, it's best to use products like this. Okay. So remember this. Let's move on to the next one. And by the way, I'm not paid for by any of these companies. Okay. The next case is automated competitor feature audit. Sounds simple. Is everything so far sounding clear, easy peasy? Any questions?
More than less.
Okay, cool. So the goal prompt is the human is intending to do the audit. Audit competitor product updates from the past month and surface any UX patterns we should benchmark. First of all, you don't want to do it in just your personal Claude chat. You want it to be repetitive because most likely you're going to be doing it every month and checking out the competition. But for this to happen, you basically need the Explorer agent, the analysis agent, and then the one that is synthesizing. So approximately 3 agents for this type of work. You can use Cloud Code. You can use Product Board if you are, again, working for a SaaS or for a big corporation. And you can also use Olama. Olama is an open source one. And let me just quickly walk you through this one. It's a free open source tool that lets you download and run large language models directly on your own computer. It works like a package manager for AI, giving you total offline access, absolute data privacy, and zero recurring cloud costs. So Olama, I believe, although it's free, I think there is a cost if you want to upgrade and whatnot. I haven't gotten to that yet, but the cool thing again is that you can use a combination of different large language models, and you can kind of build out your own smaller version. It will be adjusted to you, so it's going to learn from your request, and yeah, it's more, well, I won't be saying that it's way more secure because we just got a news a couple of days ago, I believe, that the Hugging Face was breached by OpenAI, right? And Hugging Face is run on Olama. So question mark there, but still it is open source. And the caveat is that you might want to also have like a cloud infrastructure if you want to have it kind of more hybrid than just locally run. All right, next one. Everything clear on Olama, more or less? And what type of use case?
So Llama is kind of service collect any another services and can mix them, and you can like choose
Yeah, you
whatever you
can choose several different language models, so you're not locked in one. Like you can even have, oh, the wrong way. You can even have like OpenClaw, you can have Cloud Code, you can use Hermes agent. I was trying out that Hermes agent. And when you do the request, so let me show you, then it will run several of them. So like if I ask, let's ask anything, right? There's Kimi, you can choose. So Kimi, for example, is also open source. Quen is the Alibaba one. Gamma is Google. This is open source version 2. So super cool. You don't have to separately, download each one of them and then ask from each one of them. You can just combine all. Make sense?
it's kind
But
of
if it's running,
kind of perplexity in this searching page, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like Perplexity, but you don't have to pay as much as Perplexity.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good.
Okay, cool. All right, so like if I ask anything here in a llama, it will actually use not only Kimi, but several other ones. Let's say, what kind of question? Any questions that you want to run?
Who will be next president of United States?
I don't think it's gonna. That's like prediction. I actually heard about this new platform, and some guy, I think he's French or something, and he started a new AI company that is called Nostradamus, and he's doing predictions. So you're close.
I have a question. So I'm curious, what's the performance difference between running this locally and running it directly? So let's ask it.
Yeah, so actually, because I figured I won't remember everything, I actually prepped this beautiful website where I put in all these things that I also had like questions about. And I keep updating it here because the performance and cost and latency, they change, right? As these, as it's hard to keep up with all the LLMs. So here on this page, you'll be able to go in, I can copy it now, but also it's in the deck and you'll get it after the call to chat. So I updated it this morning too because I wanted to make sure it's up to date. It does this summarization. You can check on like latency by RAG, latency critical, and let's just keep it summarized, right? So for SLM, there's Llama 3.2, Llama 3.23b, all of them, and it's already categorized and graded. So number one SLM right now is Llama 3.21b. And there's 50 milliseconds latency. And yeah, you can look up Quen is 250 milliseconds. But you're asking about run locally versus on. If we're looking at LLM that is, let's say, Claude 3.7 Sonnet, well, I mean, that's slower. It's 1500 milliseconds latency. So, yeah. And then you can also compare the costs, and I think in the key takeaways, it summarizes which one is the best by the combination of cost, performance, and security. Yes, those are the three categories that I put in. So this way I don't have to keep asking the same thing every week. All right. Any questions before I move on? For those who are asking for the link, it's in my stories. You go in the story and click on the link and you can join. Okay, I move on then. All right, so now we're getting to decentralized, one of my favorite topics, but probably the least popular one. Okay, so let's say there is a zero trust local, well, you have a use case where there should be no trust. It's a very security sensitive task to do or work to do. OpenClaw actually has one of the issues with the security where the assumption from the beginning is that, oh, you're doing it for yourself and you kind of trusting it a lot. Hence, there's a lot of security breaches. That's why in the last probably couple of weeks, you haven't even heard much about OpenClaw, right? And especially as Manus AI came out, people started using that more because it has higher security. Now, there's a couple of decentralized options that do similar work to OpenClaw and connecting and integrating and kind of executing on your tasks. So if you have participated in my previous webinar where I was talking about my digital twin is actually built on IronClaw. Anyway, so the use case for edge cases, strict offline environments, or air-gapped repositories, PMs and engineers bypass public cloud infrastructure entirely to run high-performance models locally or across private nodes. Now, the thing is, with IronClaw, there's two options. You can go on the website IronClaw and you can spin up an AI agent pretty quickly, or you can set it up on your local machine. So you are the one who's deciding, do we want to run it through cloud or do you want to run it locally? The caveat of running it locally, you also need to set up, there's just more setup to do. So that's like the minus. Also, since there's a lot of pluses, minuses, and it's kind of longer topic, I also have a video about it. And so my YouTube video comparing OpenClaw and IronClaw, since originally I've set up OpenClaw and then stopped using it and moved on to IronClaw. So as you get this presentation, you can also check out the full video about it. But again, if it's something super sensitive and you're able to set it up, you're okay to like spend probably maybe 3, maybe 5 days, depending on your level, to set it up all correctly, then great. Or you can start with trying out the version that is cloud hosted. And if you like it, then, you know, you go all in. All right. Time. Okay, so we're halfway through. Good. So again, as I was mentioning, I knew that I wanted to tell you a lot. So LLMs versus SLMs are right here. The difference between SLMs and LLMs is that, of course, first of all, it's like fewer tokens you're going to use. It's like up to like millions. I think up to 10 billion is tops. Where large language models use like billions of tokens, much larger, and it's more general. SLMs are usually used more for specific use case, and you go niche, right? So this is the better case for SLMs. It's lighter. You can use just one chip, actually, as a company if you're building the SLM. So a little bit more information here. You can also check it out and come back to it anytime you want. Yeah, so decision framework. Choosing an LLM when reasoning complexity is high, multimodal input is required, quality outweighed cost and latency, data can leave your environment. Choose an SLM when latency must be sub 100 milliseconds. Cost per call is critical. You need on-device edge inference, and you can fine-tune on proprietary data, and it's possible. Okay, so any questions on SLMs, LLMs?
No questions.
Cool. I will hop on to the next use case. Well, it's actually not a use case. It's more of like a question. Why enterprise companies deploy private LLMs? So when handling sensitive data, customer PII or unreleased product roadmaps, public cloud endpoints pose severe compliance risks. So this is, again, this is where you use AWS Bedrock, you use Azure OpenAI, and those are the use cases. Again, if you're a health insurance company or anything to do with healthcare, really any medical company would probably go with Azure OpenAI or AWS. And I think it's also because it's traditionally done so. Another use would be if it's a health insurance company or a health company, they might work with an AI company that already has all the securities and compliances greenlit, which today we have hundreds of different startups that are trying to get into healthcare, but if they don't have all those checkpoints yet, they won't be able to land such customers, and that's where the pain point is. First response, basically, right? So that's the latency that we talk about, like 50 milliseconds from when you typed and clicked start to when you got the answer. And the metrics or the metrics have changed too. I remember in 2024 and even 2025, we cared about the thumbs up, thumbs down on Google, not Google, on Copilot.
YouTube.
Yeah, on Copilot. When we were putting it into Azure as like an AI agent support. I don't think we use it as much anymore, or we care about it as much as we care about, okay, how quickly did the AI, the AI learn from previous outputs. And so the point is that today, every time a customer, changes behavior, the AI learns it, right? You as a product manager, not sitting there asking, how was it for you? Right? Or things like that. Please give us feedback. Sometimes the customer will respond with text, and then what it used to be like, you would sit through these Excel spreadsheets with all these answers and trying to make sense of it, and like, okay, should we fix it? Is it a new feature that is worth being built? And today, as when we talk about a customer talking to AI or through AI, but mostly to AI, the AI learns of the behavior, right? And so, and the metrics that we look at is also not like John did this this many times, hence blah, blah, blah. We still do this like average, customer used this like 50% of the time, hence we should focus on improving this part. But yeah, metrics have changed a lot, and I think I should just have another just 1 hour session just to go over metrics that matter, and that's also an important part of every interview for product managers who are saying, I'm an AI product manager. Okay, I ran through it pretty quickly just to make sure we also have the time for conversation. But the key takeaways are every user action is training data, every pattern becomes intelligence, and every insight improves the next experience. Again, we're not talking anymore about us manually taking the feedback and working on it. Now it's AI learning on it. And in fact, if you go through this website in the flywheel section, we cover a little bit about how the AI does it, right? Where some of the context that a human puts in, the RAG is going to change. So retrieval augmented generation, right? Let's say you're writing something about, like if you would write, no, Alexander is actually a famous actor, create a page on Wikipedia, you won't be able to do it, right? But if you say that, I'm in your personal Claude, chat, that you are a president of something, it might listen to you, right? If you say I'm a president of company ABC, it will learn that way. It will start creating prompts, or like not prompts, answering your prompts if you're talking about something business related, as if you are that president, right? So depending on which stage you're in, it will update the RAG, but it won't necessarily do anything publicly. So I think these differences are important to know, and I recommend you check out the set of pages that I've created for you so you can kind of go through it anytime you want. This is the QR code for it. Also, for our next workshop, the next workshop is more focused on automations. So business automations management, where you come in as a consultant. This is what I have noticed in the last 6 months that is working really well for me, and it kind of came up naturally, where I help a company and basically I just come in, I look at their processes, I see where automation is needed, where AI agent can be built, where you don't need to do anything and just keep it as is because it's going to be cheaper and better. And yeah, I started getting paid for doing that. So if you want to become like automations manager, then feel free to join. It's going to be next Friday. And then 2 weeks after that, I believe, I'm going to have another PM interview hiring kind of preparation.